Good afternoon. GO trains are continuing to run on a modified schedule following a derailment on Monday.
While most of the track repairs have now been completed, damage to the signal system remains an issue. CTV's Allison Hurst has been speaking with commuters about this and joins us live with more from Union Station. Allison.
Natalie, that's exactly right. Those signal repairs are still happening right now. And so, yes, commuters are experiencing that modified or special schedule. That is happening right now. Some telling us, though, the delays are not that bad, anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. The majority of track repairs are finished, according to Metrolinx, but where the problem still lies is with their signal system. A spokesperson saying it sustained significant damage during Monday's derailment.
My commuting was pretty good. There was just a little wait as we were entering in, but other than that, it was good. Signs
are still up warning passengers trains are running on a special schedule with reduced service to accommodate the ongoing work.
I am very frustrated because, getting home late and then get up again to go back all the way in Pickering is a long way.
Morning's good. It's a mystery in the afternoon.
I know the city's doing what they're supposed to be doing, so I don't want to be the one to complain. But at the same time, it's not ideal.
Monday morning, a Kitchener Line train derailed around 8:15 shortly after leaving Union Station. Photos taken by a passenger show a signal that appears to be wedged under the train.
My train, it was delayed like 2 hours. Yeah, and then it just ended up getting canceled.
Delays continued into yesterday, similar to today, nowhere near the length from Monday.
10-15 minutes.
Today was really, really smooth. Yesterday my train was delayed by about 4 minutes, so it's getting on track.
Officials say the signal repairs will take longer, and they expect the impacts to extend into the coming days. According to the GO Train website, there is a form that commuters can fill out to see if they're eligible for any sort of refund for the delays that they've experienced over the last couple of days. So we urge all of them to double check that. You fill out the form and it could take up to 72 hours to find out if they're eligible. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Natalie, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Allison. As the TTC prepares for the opening of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT on Sunday, the transit agency is adding some new bus routes to connect riders to the line. The TTC says 6 new bus routes will be in service beginning on Sunday. Service is also being adjusted on several routes, while 2 routes are being removed. The Eglinton Crosstown will see trains run between Mount Dennis in the west and Kennedy Station in the east. While the LRT will be open on Sunday, the TTC says it will begin on a reduced schedule. Still to come this hour, new polling is outlining Canadians' major concerns for the federal government in 2026. We'll have more on the data a little later in the newscast.
But first, an investigation is ongoing after a man was struck and killed by a vehicle in Etobicoke last night. The 28-year-old man was struck shortly before 7:30 near Dundas and Acorn Avenue, just west of Kipling GO Station. He was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The driver involved, the 25-year-old man, remained at the scene.
The Toronto Police Service takes every single collision that occurs very seriously, especially when a pedestrian is struck. While this collision is in the beginning stages of the investigation, I urge drivers and pedestrians to please exercise caution on icy roads and to drive according to the conditions.
Police are asking anyone with information or dash cam video to contact them. Meantime, another pedestrian was killed earlier in the day yesterday after being struck by a vehicle near Steeles and Petrolia Road, east in North York. Well, City Council is meeting today, and a number of topics are up for debate.
They include the mayor pushing for bars and restaurants to be able to serve alcohol earlier and addressing issues with blue bin pickup. CTV's Rahim Ladhani has been following this council meeting and joins us live from the chamber. Rahim.
Hi, Natalie and Nathan. Good afternoon. Yes, the Winter Olympics, they start today, and with the time zone difference, with the games happening in Italy, there is a 6-hour time zone difference, and so many of the events will be taking place in the morning, and who doesn't love a breakfast pint? So Mayor Olivia Chow is bringing forward a motion that would allow businesses and restaurants and bars to start selling alcohol starting at 6 a.m. The mayor and council seems to be on the same page here. Everyone's saying that anything that can be done to help boost business for local businesses businesses is a good thing. Another issue that's being discussed today are concerns around recycling litter not being picked up. Councillor Diane Sachs is sounding the alarm, saying the province took over blue bin collection and contracted out to the company's circular materials, but a lot of residents are having to live with the waste and eyesore. And Sachs is now asking how many extra taxpayer dollars does the city expect to spend collecting this extra litter. Have a listen to Councillor Sachs and Brad Bradford on this issue, followed by the mayor on selling booze in the early morning during the Olympics.
And the answer we got from solid waste is we don't pick up litter at all in residential streets. Transportation will do some street sweeping in the spring, but basically residents are on their own in all this litter that's been created, and there seems to be no plan for either cleaning up the litter or claiming the cost. I don't think that's acceptable.
It's a difficult situation. I think fundamentally the idea that producer pays is a solid foundation. I think the province is moving in the right direction with that. Execution is always the challenge. You know, from a city's perspective, that's not really us anymore. But at the same time, you know, it's our residents that need to have their recycling picked up. So basic things like making sure that we're getting our streets cleared and plowed so that there is actually room for blue bins to be out, so that there's actually room for the vehicles to move down the street to collect them. I know that's been a real challenge in light of the snowstorm and the snow response and some of the clearing issues. But that's the biggest thing I think right now for us is make sure we're cleaning up the streets, removing the snow so that we can get those vehicles down there and deliver the core services that Torontonians rely on.
If you're living in a small condominium, watching Team Canada play against, like hockey, it's not quite the same. You watch alone in your place. You want to go downstairs to a local pub. That's more fun when there's so many people watching together. And then, you know, beer, hockey, sometimes they go together. Yeah, so if that's what people want to do, by all means.
Now, later today, Mayor Olivia Chow will be heading to Ottawa for the Big City Mayor's Caucus. Prime Minister Mark Carney will also be in attendance, and Chow tells us that when she gets a few minutes of his time, she'll be focusing on securing a commitment for federal funding when it comes to infrastructure, particularly the waterfront LRT. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. A petition's been launched in support of expanding Allen Gardens. The group, the Friends of Allen Gardens, says the city needs more greenhouse space and is calling for an investment to double the footprint of the conservatory and revitalize the surrounding parkland. The petition says the expansion would create more space for community gatherings.
Premier Ford was in Peel this morning addressing the Mississauga Board of Trade.
Speaking with reporters afterwards, Ford touched on several topics. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us live with more. Siobhan.
Well, the Premier was here to talk about economic opportunity. He also offered his endorsement of Carolyn Parrish running again for mayor in this fall's municipal elections. But there are many more elections filling up the calendar. It was just yesterday, Doly Begum, the deputy NDP leader in Ontario, resigned her seat in Scarborough Southwest. That came as a shock to her leader. That's because she's going to run for a federal seat, not for the NDP, but for the Liberals. That has created an opening in that riding at the provincial level. Federal MP Nate Erskine-Smith says he wants to run for the Liberal nomination there. So we caught up with the Premier in the parking lot and ran all of this by him.
I've really liked Doly, actually. I think she'll do a good job as a federal MP. She's fortunate enough to win. And I guess there'll be a time to call a by-election after that. I'm just not too sure when.
Nate Erskine-Smith says he's going to be resigning his seat federally to run in Scarborough Southwest. Oh, you relishing the opportunity to take him on?
I'll just work as hard as we can, and hopefully we can turn that seat.
As soon as Doug Ford calls the by-election, I am all in. I'll be resigning a seat here. In the meantime, look, what's at stake here in Ottawa? Every vote counts. Is why we're going to have quick by-elections with the resignation of Blair and Chrystia. So, you know, I don't want to leave my federal colleagues in the lurch. So I'm not gonna jump today. But if Doug calls it tomorrow, yeah, I'll be resigning tomorrow.
Well, the Premier has 6 months to call that by-election. Right now, there's no indication of when he might do that. As for the Ontario Liberal leadership race, Nate Erskine-Smith, you might remember, finished second in the 2023 contest. The party says it will have the parameters of the next race by February 9th. Reporting live from Mississauga, I'm Siobhan Morris. Back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Well, Canada's Wonderland has announced it will open for the season on May 3rd. The amusement park has begun a hiring campaign ahead of its opening date. It is looking to fill roughly 4,000 positions across all of its departments. Candidates are able to apply online. Wonderland says jobs will be posted on its website throughout the month.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. It is chilly out there, but lots of sunshine and clear skies, and that does make a big difference. And we are getting more seasonal conditions over the next couple of days before the weekend, and that's when things are going to change. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current situation. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, first it'll change in the form of active weather on Friday. So there's your tease for a little more snow on the way. And then a big cool down comes this weekend. But today, it's not bad out there. It's still -8 degrees, feeling into the minus teens. So yeah, a bit of a wind chill factor, but beautiful sunshine. We love to see it. Winds out of the northwest today, fairly light in nature. Here's our satellite and radar, and there really isn't much to show you here. Sunshine expected through the afternoon. In some cases, maybe a little bit of an increase in cloud cover, but overall a nice day. Forecast daytime high -5. If you bundle up, you can enjoy a lovely walk this afternoon. Again, things do get a little more active as the week goes on. Heads up for Friday for snow and the weekend for cold. We'll take you through everything you need to know coming up in your forecast. For now, Natalie, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay. Well, British Columbia is dealing with an escalating series of extortion-related shootings.
The province is promising to take action, enlisting help from other areas dealing with similar issues. CTV's Andrew Johnson has the details.
This has too often been the soundtrack in Surrey, BC.
It's like a slow-motion terror attack. People are afraid to leave their homes. They're afraid to attend their businesses. They're afraid to do business. They're afraid to celebrate when they have big accomplishments that may draw attention.
The extortion attempts often start with a call or text demanding money from primarily South Asian business owners. If they refuse to pay up, their families are threatened and their business or home is targeted by gunfire.
This is very, very unfortunate, and the business is hurting like crazy.
When victims call police, the Premier says sometimes the response simply isn't good enough.
When I meet with police leadership, they assure me that they are on top of this, that people are receiving the best possible response, that there are no additional resources that are needed. But when I meet with community leadership, they say that that is not their experience.
Critics believe the bigger issue is manpower that should be funded at the federal level.
You need them on the ground now. If you can get 100 here within the next few days, 100 here within the next week or so.
The latest shooting was Sunday morning when a Surrey home was sprayed with bullets as people slept inside. 3 young men were arrested and each charged. But federal data shows others charged previously were foreign nationals who then applied for refugee status to avoid being deported. The Premier calls that a loophole that has to be closed. Eby says there will be a meeting between police leadership across the country in the next 2 weeks to improve coordination between multiple provinces where this is a problem and locally where a terrorized community is desperate for the threats and the violence to stop. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Justice Minister Sean Fraser responded to an announcement today from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, saying her government will withhold funding to support new judicial appointments in Alberta if the federal government doesn't give the province a say on who is picked.
At risk of stating the obvious, it's essential that we have a judiciary who's able to make decisions without fear or favor amongst those who have the power to appoint or, in theory, remove a judge from the bench. When you start to look at how you can protect that independence, certainly ensuring that there's not political threats about the resources that are going to be made available to them to do their jobs is part of it. But another part is actually have integrity in the appointment process to begin with.
In a letter to Prime Minister Mark Carney, Smith says she wants the province to be consulted on future appointments to Alberta's Court of King's Bench, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court of Canada. Smith proposes a committee that includes Alberta appointees to help assess and recommend candidates to be agreed on by the ministers and the Prime Minister.
Tributes continue to pour in from across the country and the hockey community following the deaths of 3 junior hockey players in a car crash Monday south of Calgary.
The Edmonton Oilers Hockey Club, along with its players and fans, mourn the loss of Cameron, JJ, and Caden.
A ceremony was held ahead of last night's game between the Edmonton Oilers and Toronto Maple Leafs in memory of Cameron Casoro, JJ Wright, and Caden Fine. The trio were killed when they were involved in a collision on their way to practice. And CTV's Scott Hurst has been following this tragedy and joins us live with more. Scott, can you tell us more about the situation and the tributes for these three young men?
Nathan, a few things to update here. You mentioned the growing tributes that we're seeing, including the one that you just played in Edmonton last night in a game against the Oilers between the Toronto Maple Leafs. But also we're getting an update from Mounties. We'll hear more in terms of reaction in just a moment. But in terms of the latest on the investigation, Mounties say a collision reconstruction team has been at the site. But at this time, it appears to be a tragic accident. Criminal charges are not likely. The investigation, however, is continuing. According to the RCMP, the players were driving from the neighboring town of Nanton and were turning into the entrance to Staveley, which is about 1 hour's drive south of Calgary. And the players were at that point heading east across the highway when the collision occurred, according to RCMP, with a northbound semi-truck hauling gravel. The truck driver, who's from the local area, received minor injuries. We're hearing more from those in that community impacted by this terrible tragedy because it is a small community and so much of it revolves around these hockey teams where there are billet families, of course, people that volunteer and work with the teams. Here's more on what it means and the tragic impact on this local community.
Hockey runs deep in communities like ours. It's not just a sport. It's generations of early mornings, long drives, cold rinks, and proud parents in the stands. These young men were part of that story, and we will honor them. This loss is felt not only in Staveley and Nanton, but across our surrounding communities and our country.
So, Nathan, from that clip, you can hear the emotion in her voice and really what these players, what that team means to the local hockey community and how much an impact this tragedy is going to have for quite some time.
And, Scott, two players, JJ Wright and Cameron Kasora from Kamloops, BC. How's that community dealing with the loss?
That community, of course, is also feeling devastating impact because, of course, that community has a rich hockey history as well, not just with the Kamloops Blazers at that level of hockey, but so many proud minor hockey programs as well. As you mentioned, 18-year-olds JJ Wright and Cameron Kersorso were from Kamloops, BC. 17-year-old Caden Fine from Birmingham, Alabama. I want to play more from those in the Kamloops area. This is the deputy mayor who says this loss is much bigger than the game itself.
Hockey is huge in Kamloops. There's so many people that are involved in it. When you go to an arena, it's full of kids playing hockey. It's full of their families coming to watch them play or to practice. This is not going to affect just two families in Kamloops. It's going to affect all of the kids that played hockey with Cameron and JJ over the years, all of the coaches that coached them.
And Nathan, taking it back to the local community in southern Alberta, there's a benefit game that is being planned for this weekend to really help the team, help the community come together and rally for one another in the wake of this terrible tragedy.
I'm sure all the support will help. CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Well, nearly everybody has some connection to social media, including children.
Now advocates are calling on the federal government to table and pass an online safety act to limit potential harms. CTV's Austin Lee has the story.
For kids today, it's impossible to envision an internet-free world.
It's where we learn, it's where we play, and it's also where we connect with our friends, maybe where we live. But it's also where kids get bullied, where we see things we were never ready for, and it's where mistakes can follow you forever.
And although social media has its benefits,
I've made international spaces and chats where we're able to create projects, share perspectives, broaden our horizons and understanding of different issues.
In a world connected through technology, there are real risks.
I've definitely seen the impact social media has had on youth, has had on loneliness, has had in the education sphere as well.
The federal government's proposed Online Harms Act, Bill C-63, expired in January of last year after former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau resigned and prorogued Parliament. But advocates have not stopped their calls to protect kids from being exposed to harmful and graphic online content.
We're pleading with government to act, to do what we know is right for our children, to table this legislation and to act, and to stop with delaying tactics like online studies. You know, we have mountains of evidence.
In Australia, you must be at least 16 years old to access the 10 most popular social media platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. In France, a similar age restriction is being reviewed, and here in Canada, some advocates want to take things a step further.
We need much broader legislation that looks at the comprehensive digital environment that kids live in, and that really holds the entire tech industry, not just the social media industry, but the whole tech industry to account.
What that legislation could look like is still unclear. In a statement to CTV News, Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture Mark Miller says in part, our government intends to act swiftly, adding they will have more details to share in due course. Some students say it should be a balancing act.
Finding a middle ground, I guess, finding how to place regulations without completely stripping the youth of their ability to navigate those platforms.
Austin Lee, CTV News.
We're following developing news out of Scarborough, where first responders say 2 pedestrians were struck by a vehicle late this morning. Now, this is in the area of Warden and Bertrand Avenue. Police say this happened shortly after 11:20, and road closures are now in place. Toronto paramedics say they transported 2 people with serious but non-life-threatening injuries to a trauma center. We're following all the latest details on this story, and we'll provide an update on CTV News at 5 and 6.
Well, in Ottawa, Parliament is back in session, and one of the federal Liberals' top priorities is passing its new GST credit. While cost of living remains a major concern, new polling from Nanos Research on behalf of CTV News is outlining the other issues Canadians are concerned about. CTV's Jeremy Charon joins us now live from Ottawa with a closer look at the data. Jeremy, thank you for joining us. The poll looked at Canadians' priorities for the federal government this year. What does it reveal?
Yeah, Natalie, look, when you look at these numbers from Nanos Research on behalf of CTV, it's pretty clear Canadians are focused on issues that are directly impacting them the most. This poll highlighted the fact that the #1 issue among Canadians right now is the rising cost of living. 26% of respondents said that should be the federal government's #1 priority over the next year. Number 2 in those questions, jobs and the economy. 18% of people believe that should be a #1 issue for this government, while rounding the top 3 was trade negotiations with the U.S. at 17%. That's down from 21% who voted in favor of that being the top priority when the same question was asked in September. So, these numbers really painting a picture of, Canadians that are slightly shifting their focus, at least in the immediate, from the impact of trade negotiations with the U.S. onto what is impacting them the most, what is, the question that they're asking about whether or not they can, pay their next bill, put food on the table in terms of the rising cost of living and jobs in the economy. While it is important, Natalie, to highlight that at this very time, it is hard to talk about any one of those 3 things without talking about the other. They are all very much interconnected right now.
And Jeremy, the poll also asked Canadians about this idea of MPs crossing the floor. Certainly we saw that just locally here yesterday with Doly Begum. What do Canadians think should happen if an MP decides to change parties?
Yeah, this one's really interesting. Look, at the federal level, recently we've had 2 MPs cross the floor, Michael Ma and Chris D'Entremont, both leaving the Conservative Party, joining the governing Liberal Party. And what this poll tells us is that 2/3 of Canadians are against allowing MPs to do exactly what has happened so far. When you look at the numbers, the breakdown shows that 1/3 or 33% believe that an MP should have to resign their seat to trigger a by-election if they want to change parties. Another 1/3 believe that MPs should have to sit as an independent until the next election if they choose to leave their party, while another 1/3 are on board with exactly what is going on right now, which is that MPs can freely move from one political party to the other. So interesting to note that 2/3 are against what is currently happening. And Nick Nanos, the chief data scientist with Nanos Research, has a little more insight on these numbers.
If you're voting based on party and you see that your local MP that was elected because you happen to support them decides to change teams, you are ripping mad, right, about them kind of deciding to cross the floor. So, the reason why this is such a mixed bag is because Canadians have different vote motivators ranging from party, local candidate to leader.
So this is an interesting one to me, really showing that Canadians, given everything that has happened in recent weeks and months, are completely against, or at least the majority are against, what has transpired, which is that MPs can just freely cross the floor. They'd rather see a different option, whether it be them sit as an independent or have to run in a by-election to actually go and represent the other party.
Okay, CTV's Jeremy Charon for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand will be in Washington today, taking part in a meeting aimed at increasing collaboration on critical minerals. Anand and her international counterparts will be discussing America's push to lessen global reliance on China when it comes to critical minerals. On Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the creation of a strategic reserve of rare earth elements to help shield auto and electronics manufacturers from any supply chain disruptions.
Canada has updated its travel advisory for Cuba, urging travelers to exercise a high degree of caution. It comes as the Caribbean nation is facing worsening shortages of electricity, fuel, and basic necessities. Cuba schedules long daily power cuts in an effort to reduce pressure on its electrical grid. However, Ottawa says nationwide outages can still occur unexpectedly and last for hours. The updated advisory also warns that fuel shortages have made traveling across the island difficult, with public transportation disrupted frequently.
Envoys from Russia and Ukraine will be meeting in Abu Dhabi today for another round of talks to end Russia's war in Ukraine. The meeting comes as Russia bombs have killed 7 people at a market in Ukraine. The delegations from Kyiv and Moscow are expected to be joined by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, as well as U.S. President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Progress was made in talks last month, but there were no breakthroughs on key issues. Meanwhile, Russia has continued to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure, causing widespread damage.
Palestinian health authorities say 21 people have been killed by Israeli airstrikes and tank shelling today. Israel says the strikes were in response to militants opening fire on Israeli troops operating near agreed-upon armistice lines. Israel says a soldier was injured by the militant fire, calling the incident a violation of the ceasefire agreement. Meanwhile, Hamas says Israel's actions are undermining efforts to stabilize the ceasefire, which has been in place since October of last year.
About 1/4 of the immigration enforcement officers deployed to Minnesota are being withdrawn. The White House's border czar says the decision follows state and local officials agreeing to turn over arrested immigrants.
Given this increase in unprecedented collaboration, and as a result of the need for less law enforcement officers to do this work in a safer environment, I have announced effective immediately we will draw down 700 people effective today.
No timeline was given for the withdrawal, which will see about 2,000 officers remain in the state. Tom Homan says a widespread pullout will only occur after people stop interfering with federal agents and setting up roadblocks to impede their work. There have been weeks of turmoil in Minneapolis and St. Paul, especially following the killing of 2 American citizens by federal officers.
Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper was honored on Parliament Hill yesterday with his official portrait being hung in the House of Commons gallery.
CTV's senior political correspondent Mike LeCouture has more on the ceremony celebrating the man who led the country for nearly a decade.
From current premiers to a past prime minister and even NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman. They came to Ottawa to honor former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, some even channeling Harper's own dry sense of humor.
Well, it's not every day you get to see a Prime Minister hung publicly.
Portrait?
Oh, yes, his portrait. That's what I meant.
The portrait shows the former Prime Minister sitting in his former office, with a number of Easter eggs all over the painting, including 25 different flags.
On the shelf behind me is Alberta's flag, celebrating the great province I have called home throughout my adult life. It is joined by Ontario's flag in recognition of the province where I was raised.
The trade deals his government signed are on the bookshelves behind him, and in his hand is his government's crowning achievement, a balanced budget.
Believing rightly that governments should live within their means. We like that as well.
And that fiscal pragmatism is Harper's legacy for those who served in his government.
The key is strength, social strength, economic strength,
and moral strength. And I think we had that with Stephen Harper.
Ideals the former Prime Minister preached both then and now.
That in these perilous times, both parties, whatever their other differences, come together against external forces that threaten our independence and against domestic policies that threaten our unity.
A message all the more poignant in the current political climate. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, I think today looks to be one of the nicer days this week. We've got the sunshine. Temperature-wise, we're not nearly as cold as we've been or we're going to be. Hey, maybe a nice day to hit the slopes. Here's a look at the ski conditions across Ontario. Not only is there plenty of fresh snow to enjoy, but travel on the roads to get to these resorts will be okay as well. Now, we do have some snow in the forecast for Friday. This is nothing like the storms we've seen the last couple of weeks. However, it does look like we could pick up a few centimeters of snow, and potentially more than one commute will be impacted on Friday. We'll take you through the forecast after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, to the forecast, we know we've got more freezing cold temperatures to come, but at least for today, we've got some sunshine and clear skies.
Yeah, the sunshine really is deceiving. I actually was walking the kids to school this morning without any mitts or gloves on, and I realized quickly that that was a mistake. The kids had mitts.
I was just going to say, usually my kids have mitts on, but I do not. So I guess I can relate completely on that. And it doesn't feel good at this time of year. If you don't have mitts, if you don't have the gear you need, and believe it or not, it's going to get colder again as we make our way into the weekend. And actually tonight is going to be very cold once more. So tomorrow morning, don't forget the gloves. You might need the sunglasses again, but we do expect a little more cloud cover. And then Friday, we're watching for the possibility of a few fresh centimeters of snow. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, injury lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Enough about snow for now. Let's focus on today's sunshine. It was a beautiful sunrise this morning out over Lake Ontario, as captured by our CTV News chopper. You know, if we didn't know any better, this could look like a summer scene, but no, it is still very much early February, and boy, does it feel like it here in Ontario, but not everywhere. I'm going to step aside for a moment so you can check out the temperature this hour in Calgary. It is 13 degrees right now. So yeah, bit of a ridge in the jet stream, certainly. A couple of different factors at play there, including Chinook winds bumping up the temperature. But we, on the other hand, have had a very cold winter and a very snowy one, as we know, here in southern Ontario. It's -8 degrees right now here in the city and at Pearson Airport. The average temperature this time of year is -2 degrees. We yesterday made it to a high of -2.8, so that was a pretty nice and seasonal day. Today we're cooler than that, and look at overnight tonight. -15 for the low. We're really going to feel that early tomorrow morning, especially early risers, and then eventually our temperature climbs to about -4 for a daytime high tomorrow. Again, more in the way of cloud cover, but remaining calm condition-wise. Things change a little bit more again into Friday. Here's a look at our forecast daytime highs right across southern and eastern Ontario, central portions of the province too. All is calm, all is quiet on the weather front for now. There's the increase in cloud cover that's going to happen for tomorrow. And then Friday, at this point, we're watching for the possibility of some snow, maybe impacting your Friday morning commute and the afternoon drive. It doesn't look like a whole lot of snow, certainly not compared to what we've experienced recently. But at this point, I would start preparing for anywhere from 2 to 5 centimeters of fresh snow for Friday. We go from a daytime high Friday of -2 degrees to an overnight low of -20 degrees. You factor in the winds, it's going to feel like -30 again Saturday morning. And then it is a pretty chilly weekend overall, but quiet as far as any active weather is concerned. That's the forecast for now. Nathan, going to send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. The Maple Leafs are heading into the NHL's Olympic break on a high note.
The 11-11 time of the goal, the break kick, Matthew Nyes!
The Leafs beat the Oilers 5-2 last night, notching their 3rd straight win. The team will now be off until February 25th as NHL players head to Italy to take part in the Winter Games. Leafs captain Austin Matthews will be suiting up for Team USA, while while William Nylander and Oliver Ekman-Larsson will be playing for Sweden.
The Raptors will be looking for a second straight win when they host the Minnesota Timberwolves this evening.
Operating, up fake, left, good! Big time!
The team is coming off a 107-100 win over the Utah Jazz on Sunday. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Timberwolves is set for just after 7:30 p.m. at Scotiabank Arena.
Still to come, today is World Cancer Day, and an Ottawa man is sharing how a unique treatment saved his life. We'll have his story when we come back. Today marks World Cancer Day, and an Ottawa man is sharing how a unique treatment helped save his life.
It allowed him to receive chemotherapy 24/7 and successfully brought his cancer into remission. CTV's Leah LaRocque has his story.
You should consider yourself to be in complete remission.
Those are the words that Ted Wagstaff was always determined to hear.
Complete remission. Pretty powerful.
Last spring, the Ottawa business investor and father of three started to feel unwell.
I was on a business trip, and in the middle of the night, I woke up and I thought I had food poisoning.
But the diagnosis was far more severe.
I knew it was rare, I knew it was aggressive, and it's a deadly subtype.
He had multiple tumors. One was the size of a sweet potato.
I had double-hit lymphoma.
Typical chemotherapy wasn't going to be enough. His personalized treatment involved a backpack so he could receive chemotherapy 24/7.
I would get literally a backpack with chemo in it and a pump. Every day I would go back to the hospital to get a new bag of chemo. I would sleep with it, I would shower with it, go for a walk, just that my chemo backpack went everywhere with me.
His doctor says Wagstaff's journey shows the groundbreaking cancer work being done right here in Ottawa.
That sense of cancer not being one disease and patients not all being the same. And we are slowly, but we are definitely moving into a circumstance where we're not looking at a recipe, one recipe that we apply to every patient. We're taking the patient's own biology and their specific type of cancer into consideration.
In total, I did 487 hours of chemotherapy.
Halfway through Wagstaff's treatment, he welcomed his first grandson, and 5 weeks after chemo, he completed a Tough Mudder endurance race. Now in remission, Wagstaff says his positive prognosis is largely because of this small backpack that carried the hope he needed.
I will never find the words to say thank you. I just won't, So I have immense gratitude for the Ottawa Hospital and what they did for me.
Leah LaRocque, CTV News.
Home prices across the region have officially dropped below a major milestone as market experts say soft demand last year continued into 2026. The average selling price of a home in January ticked below the $1 million mark. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says that figure stood at just over $973,000 last month. That came as around 3,100 homes changed hands, a 19% slump year over year. Meanwhile, there were nearly 18,000 active listings on the market. Treb says the elevated supply will likely keep home prices down for the first half of 2026, but they could stabilize afterwards if consumer confidence recovers. And heads up for homeowners, the City of Toronto has issued its interim property tax bills for 2026. They're calculated based on last year's taxes, and they won't reflect Mayor Chow's proposed 2.2% increase for 2026. It's awaiting approval of the budget by City Council next week and will be included in the final tax bill payments.
While home sales are sluggish in this city, interest in office space rentals has hit levels not seen since before the pandemic. That is according to commercial real estate giant Avison Young. It is out with its market report for the GTA for 2025 and shows that for the first time since 2019, the amount of office space leased outpaced the amount of office space that was vacant. The report notes that it captured some of the return to office activity that ramped up late last year, largely led by financial institutions, but that trend should accelerate as employers seek space for staff. Still to come, the lineup has been announced for Toronto's edition of All Things Go Music Festival. We'll have more on who's hitting the stage this summer when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
A pampered pooch with a Toronto connection has won the world's most coveted show dog prize.
For Best in Show at the 150th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show is the Doberman Pinscher.
Canadian-born Penny was chosen as top dog last night. The 4-year-old competed against 2,500 other dogs spanning more than 200 breeds. Her co-owner is Greg Chan of Toronto. He says Penny is very demanding and very smart, but is also a pleaser and will do anything for food. Each dog at Westminster is assessed according to how closely it matches the ideal for its breed. The winner gets a trophy, ribbons, and of course, bragging rights.
The All Things Go Music Festival has announced the lineup for its Toronto edition. Local rockers The Beaches are among the 12 acts set to take the stage at RBC Amphitheatre on June 6th and 7th. Pop stars Lorde and Kesha will headline the 2-day festival. Pre-sale tickets go on sale tomorrow before becoming available to everyone on Friday. Also on Friday, tickets go on sale for a newly announced tour featuring 3 Canadian indie bands, Metric, Broken Social Scene, and Stars. The first 2 are hitting the road in support of a new album that are on the way in the coming months. The All the Feelings tour stops in 18 cities across North America starting in June. It wraps up here in Toronto at RBC Amphitheatre August 7th.
Coming up, bringing back the smartphone keyboard. A group of former BlackBerry employees are revamping an old idea for their new device. Well, a group of former BlackBerry employees have created a new smartphone by taking inspiration from the past.
They brought back a physical keyboard, saying the simple addition can make a big difference. CTV's Spencer Turcotte has the story.
It's been quite some time since people were walking around with phones like this, the BlackBerry. But some former BlackBerry employees are bringing smartphone keyboards back in a new way through their company, Clicks.
We started in 2024 with the Clicks keyboard case. Smartphones have become really good at a lot of things, but when you're good at everything, you're not great at anything in particular.
Clicks co-founder Jeff Gadway wanted to be great at one thing, physical phone keyboards. Over the last couple years, they've come out with a couple iterations like the Power Keyboard.
A power bank that goes on the back of your phone, but with a slide-out keyboard, whether it's the auditory feedback or the actual feeling of the buttons underneath your thumbs, you can type with more confidence, more precision, and just do more on your phone on the go and not have to wait to get back to your desk.
Gadway's team has taken it a step further, though, making an entirely new phone that incorporates a physical keyboard.
The keys here you'll see are kind of ergonomically contoured.
They've called it the Communicator, a standalone phone with an emphasis on messaging and productivity.
What we've found is that there's a group of people today that really want to be better at communicating, taking action, avoiding distraction, doing versus doom scrolling.
Aside from the keyboard, it has a rear camera, 3.5mm audio jack, operates on Android 16, and has the Google Play Store. But its messaging and productivity apps are in focus. The idea being that the Communicator can be a second phone or even a work phone with your typical smartphone geared towards content and, in turn, more distractions.
What we've done is built a signal light into the prompt key here on the side. So when somebody like a VIP or maybe an app that's important to you is looking to get your attention, this will light up.
Don't think it's just an older demographic that's interested in the physical keyboard.
I think the option of having it there is always great.
Because sometimes keyboards don't actually show up when you press the keyboard button. It's always like lagging and whatnot.
It was just fun to play with as a kid. I think it's pretty nostalgic as well.
Gadway believes younger people may be looking to reshape their relationship with technology.
45% of our customers have never typed on buttons before.
As for when people can get their hands on this new phone, it can be pre-ordered for $399 and will be available later this year. The hope being the keyboard resurgence sticks, or clicks. Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
Oh, it does bring back memories. I wonder if it's going to catch on.
Oh, I missed that tactile feedback. I liked my BlackBerry keyboard.
Yeah, I did too. It'll be interesting to see if this catches on for sure. And weather-wise, it's going to be interesting to see just how cold it gets tonight because we're forecasting an overnight low of -15 degrees. Yes, cold once again, but it's going to feel more like -20 as we're waking up tomorrow morning. So here's one more look at the satellite and radar. Beautiful sunny day. Get outside today and enjoy if you can. The evening is going to bring a bit of a cool down, but it's the overnight that gets particularly cold. We don't have much in the way of cloud cover, so we're not getting that insulation like a blanket. We're very exposed, and that allows the temperature to drop. But tomorrow's daytime high, this is a bit better, -4 degrees. Still a bit of a wind chill, but nothing quite like what we will experience Friday overnight and into Saturday when it's going to feel like -30 once again. And a reminder that we could get a couple of centimeters of snow during the day on Friday. Nathan and Natalie.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching. I'm Natalie Johnson.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.